The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples set out for the villages of Caesarea Philippi, and along the way he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They said in reply, "Well, John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others one of the prophets." And he asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter said to him in reply, "You are the Christ." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed and rise after 3 days. He spoke this openly. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. And at this he turned around and, looking at his disciples, rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." He summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and that of the gospel will save it." The gospel of the Lord. Who do people say that I am, and who do you say that I am? Well, when I was a little boy, and the devil called my name, and I'd say, "Now who do you think you're fooling?" Well, that's an old Art Garfunkel song. It's Paul Simon, excuse me. I believe it was just done by Paul Simon. And of course, the song is called "Loves Me Like a Rock," right? There's a way in which it's an assurance about the ways in which we come and understand that my mama loves me like a rock. And that gives us a certain amount of confidence, right? When we know someone loves and cares for us, accepts us for who we are, we then have a greater foundation, a greater self-strength in order to be truly who we are, to be more authentic, to be ourselves. Well, I think that's kind of what Jesus is asking, and maybe even challenging his followers in today's gospel, is to really answer the question about who he is. He's doing what a lot of leaders do, right? You want to get some feedback on how you're being perceived, right? So who do people say that I am? What do they say about me? Now, you have to be careful with that kind of solicitation of advice, because sometimes that advice is not helpful. Because if people simply want you to be something that you're not, if people have their own preconceived notions, maybe even simplistic notions of what a leader is, or what you should be doing in your particular realm of responsibility or domain of leadership, it may not be the right understanding. It may be what they're imposing upon you, and it may not be helpful. However, we do need to have some self-knowledge, and that requires an openness and a humility to seek critique. And critique from people who are going to be helpful to us, people who are going to be honest to us, and often enough people who love us who are going to be honest with us. And I think there's a bit of that going on here with regards to who and how Jesus is soliciting input from his followers. Okay, how am I perceived out there? Who do they say that I am? Okay, now that I got a little bit of that put out there, I want to know who you think I am, because I trust your opinion. We have a relationship, and in fact, I would say at this point in Mark's gospel, there's a real bond here, certainly a care, maybe even a love that exists from these followers of Jesus with Jesus. So getting honest opinions from his own followers. Then he goes and shares a little bit more about what he thinks his mission is, and it's tough stuff. It's not stuff they want to hear, because of course, Peter pulls him aside, and he's like, "Oh my, we don't want this. This isn't where we're going, right? We don't want this to happen to you." And he's like, "Look, you need to sober up here and understand that God has a plan, and the plan may be tough, and there may be some suffering involved. Think as God does or at least think about this unfolding mission of the reign of God's love that you and I are a part of, that I've been sharing with you." So I think for ourselves, we may want to know that there are times when, I don't know, not exactly the devil's calling our name, but certainly the temptation to be overly concerned about the perceptions of just anyone We all know that people who have that kind of constant concern about being liked by everybody in all ways makes them extremely fickle, indecisive, and manipulated. We know that leaders who fall for flattery or seek, affirmation and nothing else tend to be superficial, failing leaders, people who can be manipulated by others easily. You don't want them to be your leader. But I do think that we can say to whatever those voices are, those voices that aren't authentic, that aren't helpful, who do you think you're fooling? I've done the hard work of tuning into who my God is, being open before my God, and being open before those good friends, those people who can give me honest feedback, hard, honest feedback out of love. And that has helped me be more of whom I'm called to be more grounded, and to live my life with authenticity. And because I'm grounded in that way, I can do hard things. I may even do things that cost me or might bring on some negative reaction or worse, suffering, right? So friends, I think today's gospel is a real example of how you and I need to be a part of that process. For all of us are leaders in some domain or another in our lives, formally and informally, right? All of us need to be about an authentic sense of self, and whatever that may require of us, what may naturally be part of our own personal mission in this life and in this world. We're certainly called by Christ to be ourselves in an authentic way, in our own uniquely gifted way as God created us, so that we can contribute to that reign of God's love, that unfolding work of the kingdom that we do here on earth, so that it may reflect how it is in heaven. So friends, whether we're a little boy or whether we're a full adult, know that it might not be the devil calling our name, but it might be some negative voice and some sycophantish voice out there in the world that's asking you and me, who do you think you are? And rather than giving some nonsensical answer that's some kind of false bravado, we know that we can speak authentically, humbly, realistically, and have a sober and balanced understanding of ourselves in the world and our mission. Because not only does our mama love us like a rock, but so does the Lord. And the Lord, this relationship we have with Jesus, is always going to give us a sense of who he is for us and who we can be for others. Amen.